Hello folks, this is Chef Joe coming at you from the COVID kitchen. And because I can't cook for you in person, I figured I'd do you the bruschetta recipe. And you can make this at home. Oh, it's a snap. Okay, we start with the secret to this bruschetta, which I learned in Beverly Hills in a little restaurant called Piazza Rodeo on Rodeo Drive. The secret is the bread. I use a little ciabatta bread. You can use French bread. It doesn't really matter if you use one of those two fresh breads. It's how you prepare the bread. And the way we prepare the bread is we take a cookie sheet and we cover it with a little bit of olive oil. All right. Make sure we get the olive oil all around the sheet. And then we put our sliced, get this sliced at the supermarket, by the way, much easier. We put our ciabatta bread or our French bread on one side, okay? And then this goes in the oven for 325 for about 20-25 minutes. 325 temperature, and you'll know it's done. You'll know it's done when you can snap it in half and it's firm to touch on both sides. You'll be able to tell just by pressing down on one side in the oven. And you want them to be crispy and completely devoid of moisture. And we'll set those aside and we'll start on the tomatoes for the bruschetta topping. Okay, now what I like to do is cut the ends off. I suppose I should tell you, you need about 10 to 15 plum tomatoes, 1 package of basil, a couple cloves of garlic, 1/4 cup of olive oil, 3/4 of a loaf of bread, probably for 15, maybe a loaf of bread. So you take your plum tomatoes, cut the ends off, cut them in half. Okay, just like that. Cut the ends off and in half. Nice sharp knife is always good to have. Use ceramic or a sharpened knife of your own in the kitchen. Okay, what we want to do with these tomatoes now is remove the interior section of them. And the way we do that, it's just to core it. Core it around with a nice paring knife. Take your time. This is where you can cut yourself if you're not careful, or if you look away. Don't look away when you're cutting. Alright? So we'll core these tomatoes. And then we're going to cut them. Okay? You can take the tomatoes and stack them. Put one tomato together. And then now you don't press down with your knife, because if it's not as sharp as this, it'll just flatten the tomato. You're just basically going to push forward until it breaks the front skin and pull back. Push forward, pull back. And then you have your tomato sliced. Turn it sideways. Hold on to it and then take your time here. Push forward, pull back. Yep. Okay, and this is what you're looking for. That's your desired size for your toppings for your bruschetta. Okay? We'll do another quick one. Alright. Okay. We're going to save these into a bowl, and the bowl is going to look like this. Okay? That in there. Yes, we're making a lot of bruschetta here at Chef Agriterra's house. Now you're really wondering what I'm talking about. Okay, we'll dry this off a little bit. We got our tomatoes. We got our garlic. We're going to press 2 cloves of garlic into the tomatoes. 2 cloves. If you do not have a garlic press, take a flat knife, big, put a couple cuts into a clove of garlic, crush it down, and then okay, a little chunk on it. We prefer the crushed garlic in the little hand vice grips because these are a little bit chunkier, and they'll wake you up in the morning, boy-oh, if you bite into one of them. Doesn't matter. We like garlic here. Okay. Tomatoes, garlic. About 1/4 cup of olive oil. Okay? Probably using the wrong hand here. See, this is why I'll never make it on the Food Channel, Food Network. Garlic, tomatoes, olive oil, basil. All right, you get your bunch of basil. Take the leaves off, okay? So you have the leaves here, and then stack the leaves. Okay? What we're going to do now is we're going to chiffonade the basil. The French, you know, the chiffonade the basil. Put this together, stack it up. And I'll show you why we're going to do this. I think somebody like Raineth would be really good at this, you know, because you're stacking up these leaves and then you're rolling them up from the stems. Okay? So rolling up your leaves. Now don't smoke this, all right? What you're going to do is you're going to take your sharp knife and you're going to slice small rings. Just like that. And what this does is it presents long strips of basil that float over your tomato mixture. See that? Look at that. See those long basil strings right there? Well, those are going to look great in your bruschetta. Okay? So we put a little basil in there. Let's do a little more. We won't be stingy. Well, a small package of basil, 15 tomatoes. You're good to go. All right. Get your basil. Okay. Now, probably the most important thing for a good bruschetta is salt. We add salt to tomatoes. We add salt to tomatoes because salt releases water from the tomatoes. So we'll be kind of generous with our salt. All right, we'll mix that up. And what we're going to do is we're going to let this sit in the bowl for 15 minutes. If I knew how to pause the camera, I would pause it and turn it right back on after 15 minutes. But I won't because I can't, well, you know, I'm at a shortage of tech-savvy teenagers here. Okay. Right now, very little bit of water. What the salt is going to do is it's going to release a lot of the tomato juice from the tomatoes. So I will see you in 15 minutes. Come on, pause button, where are you?
Only one country accountable for this. You don't need a scorecard to tell.
Okay, welcome back. And let's Shall we turn the TV off? Okay. Okay, we've waited about 15 minutes for the tomatoes to set. What I didn't tell you is we save the cores of our tomatoes, okay? And save the extra basil, and maybe throw another little clump of clove of garlic in there, and then you put a little bit of olive oil in that. And we'll cook that on medium. We'll put that in a pot. All right. We're going to cook that down on medium. We'll throw a little bit of white wine in there, and that will make an excellent topping for fish. Or you blend it in with a sweet potato or a mashed potato, and you just change the taste of your vegetables. Throw it in whatever vegetables you're having for the night. Now, we have our toasts. Nice and crunchy. Okay. And the cracked one. Now, well, you won't be able to see it, but there's a lot more juice in these tomatoes because they've been sitting and the salt has been sucking out some of the liquid. So now we're going to take and put a spoonful on each piece of toast. Okay? It can be a little messy here. Looks nice when the tomatoes are overflowing all over the place. Okay, so the secret to Chef Joe's famous bruschetta from Beverly Hills is the bread that has to have all the moisture baked out of it. And you do that slowly, 325 for about 20-25 minutes. You'll know it'll be golden brown on one side and you can't press down on it from the top. It has no give to it. Alright? And then salt on the tomatoes. And let them release their liquid for a few minutes. 15 minutes or so they'll release their liquid. And this is the final one. When you put the tomatoes on the toast, don't serve it right away. Give it about another 10 or 15 minutes, just like this. Because what happens is the tomatoes are going to continue to bleed their juices. And when they do, that bread that has no moisture in it is going to soak it up like a sponge. So what I do actually, when I have a party of 40 or 50 or so, I'll make a giant tray of this. And then I will take and I will pour out some of the juice from the tomatoes. And as you can see, there is a good amount of juice in there. So we're going to pour that out. And these will soak up the juice from the bottom. Give it a few minutes and then serve them. And then by the time you come back for your next, I don't know how many people you have over with the COVID parties and all, but by the time you come back for your next batch of tomatoes, there'll be more juice. Okay? Or you can make up a second tray, have it sitting in the kitchen, and then it'll be ready when you're ready to serve it. Okay, guys? Enjoy the Piazza Rodeo Bruschetta, courtesy of Chef Joe and Agri-Terra's Mining and Haberdashery.